Welcome to Common Stories. Here's another unbelievable story from the book Small Miracles by Yida Halberstam, Shem Kol Yisrael. So there's a woman named Joan Stone. And yes, the details of the story are true, but the names have been changed. So Joan was on a flight, and she was really excited because she had just got her special kosher meal, and she was hungry. And you know how it is on planes when there's not much else to do but to eat and everyone around you is eating and you're just hoping they don't mess up your kosher meal. So the flight attendant brought her kosher meal. She was so excited. She wrapped open the plastic and she started to chow down on her delicious meal after a beautiful bracha, of course. But the man standing just a few aisles or sitting just a few aisles in front of her, was not so lucky. Him and the flight attendant were talking and she kept looking through her records, but unfortunately the person who had booked the flight must have made a bit of a mistake and there was no kosher meal for, as we'll call him, Moshe Stein. Again, names have been changed, but true story. He was a bit disappointed. And she saw the whole scene coming out. And when the flight attendant walked away, she pulled her over and said, "Listen, I know how hard it is to be foodless. And unlike girls, who always prepare some extra food, poor Maishi probably didn't prepare anything. So you know what? Give that guy with the kippah in front of me some of my food. Take this yogurt and take this and take that and share it with him." And that's what she did, and he took the food, and he was happy. Life went on. I don't know if they watched a movie or if they did some introspection, but at the end of the flight, there was Maishi waiting for Joan. And he just wanted to tell her, "Thank you so much for that kind deed, for that act of chesed." And she said, "Sure, listen, I'm also strictly kosher. I know what it's like to be starving. I know what it's like to be stuck with just a banana and an apple the rest of the way. And so how could I not?" And he said, "Wow, that was amazing. Thank you so much. My name is," he introduced himself. And she said, "My name is Joan." Then he smiled. He said, "Wow, why does your name sound so familiar? I feel like I've heard that name before." And she said, "Yeah, me too. I've heard that name also." They both smiled kind of awkwardly, and they said, "Yeah, there was a matchmaker, a shadchan, and he mentioned your name." And she said, "Yeah, that's right. That's right. I actually heard really nice things about you." And he said, "Yeah, I also heard a lot of great things about you." And then there was this awkward silence. And she said, "Yeah, the truth is, I actually really, really down to go on a date, but you said no. Sorry to be a little chutzpahdik, but why'd you say no?" And there's this awkward silence, and he says, "Well, the truth is, I heard you're pursuing a graduate school, and you're, a college girl, and I thought, maybe you weren't so committed maybe to Torah and mitzvos and chesed and kindness and good deeds, which is just my top priority. I thought maybe you were just more concerned about a career." And she looks at him with this fake anger and says, "Really?" And then softened a bit. And 10 years later, they're now married happily ever after. Baruch Hashem. So to me, the lesson for the story is twofold. First of all, go over to that girl and have that conversation. Good for Maishi for going and having the conversation. And good for Joan for having the guts to even ask him why he didn't ask her out. It's a pretty bold thing to do. Got to be bold sometimes to get married. And of course, the obvious lesson is that when you do an act of kindness for someone else, you just open up the gates for God to do kindness towards you. May we all always pursue kindness and be zoicha to see blessings in our lives. Thank you to Judith Leventhal and Yida Halberstam for their beautiful stories which they collected in Small Miracles. And I hope you enjoyed today's story of Hashgacha Pratis, of divine providence.